What's up, college football fans? You are here at another episode of the College Football Roundtable on a rectangle screen. Tonight, we are covering the CFP Semifinals. We're going to take a look at some of our favorite bowl games this season. If you're on TikTok or watching in the live here, go ahead and leave us your comments. We'll get to them as we can and go from there. But for now, Pop, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, had a good day.
What was your favorite things about bowl season?
Um, the chaos.
Ooh,
It'd have to be the chaos.
the chaos.
It totally destroyed my bracket, and I loved every minute of it.
Yep. And for those that don't know, we did a bracket at the start of the playoffs, and right now you are actually in a tie for first with Nick, who we'll bring up here in a minute, and TJ Croman. Yeah, did I say that right? Anyway, uh, he's in a tie for first, and all three of you can finish 6-5 should Indiana win, and I believe it's just down to the three of you. Uh, Casey might be able to jump in there, but regardless of whoever, if it's 3 or 4, it's going to come down to the total points at the end of it all to see who uh, uh, who wins.
I
So
guess it really works.
what?
Picking teams based upon whether you like their uniforms.
Wow. Speaking of Nick, the other person in the running for the chip, the playoff pick'em, Nick Wade from Bronco Nation Updates, Blue Elevation, BroncoNationUpdates.com, Bronco Nation, uh, however many more he has. He's a jack of all trades. Nick Wade, how are you tonight?
Great. Just you can just say I bleed blue.
Yeah. And Nick, you've been you along with Dominic, who isn't with us tonight, but you've been a proponent for the little guy. So what was been some of your favorite bowl moments this year where the little guy has exceeded expectations?
Um, I think I just think it was kind of great that you did have two G5 schools get in over what was it, an 8-5 Duke. So I think that's the highlight. I would have wanted them to show up a little bit better, but they just showed that there is kind of a disparagement, especially special teams for these smaller schools. But I thought they overall, if you take in comparison to some of these second round games, those games don't look too bad.
Yep. You take a look at it. James Madison did better against Oregon than Texas Tech did. Scored more points anyway, and Tulane scored more points against Ole Miss than uh, uh, Alabama did. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
Again, if you're watching on TikTok, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, the show in its entirety. On TikTok, you just have Nick and I to look at. So you can leave your comments over here. We'll get to them as we can. But if you want to join the show live, hop on over to the Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel or look us up on the Sam Talk Sports X or Facebook account, and we can get you on the show that way. But we are happy to have you on TikTok as well if you don't want to go over. Moving right along, we got Mr. Todd Sandberg from Todd Talk Sports, and always listen to Todd unless he's picking Ohio State against Indiana, then you can kind of tune that one out. Todd, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm fighting off a cold here, but I'm doing okay. How about you guys?
Oh, doing well. What are some of your favorite moments from bowl season this year, Todd?
Well, I tell you, I really like the Pop-Tart Bowl. You see the viewership on that? No, I mean, I know Casey's not on the screen here, but Notre Dame think anybody's going to watch it. 8.5 million viewers watched the old Pop-Tart Bowl, so that was pretty exciting. I was really excited about Navy winning their final game. Blake Horvath here from Hilliard, Ohio, where I'm at. So that was good to see him go off with the win. Unfortunately, in literally a rainstorm there against Cincinnati in that game. And I thought last night's game The FCS championship game was extremely exciting football game to watch, and congratulations to Montana State on their first national championship since I was a freshman in high school.
All right. Pop, look over here and say hi to your other son in the TJ, he's in the comments. Say
Well,
hi.
hello, other son.
Not Nick. All right. And let's bring up our final guest who, like Todd says, didn't think Pop-Tart Bowl was going to pop off. I think the pageantry around the Pop-Tart Bowl, it doesn't matter who's in it. People are going to be watching for the Pop-Tart storyline. So, Mr. Casey Wick, no relation to John Wick, so everyone's safe. Casey, how are you tonight?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. What was your favorite non-Notre Dame bowl game?
Yeah, well played. Watching the SEC go 2-7 against other Power 4 conferences.
Yeah. They won the one game outside of the playoffs, so that was fun to watch.
Yep. Just nice to see that all the it just means more was complete and total BS this season.
Yeah, and I got to tell the people that say, "Oh, it just means more." You can't say it means more and then make excuses. Oh, these people went into the transfer portal, or oh, they went into the draft, or oh, they sat out. If it means more, you don't do that stuff. You show up to your bowl game and you play, or you have your second string ready to play to the bowl game they show up to. You can't have it both ways. Just like you can't say, "Oh, well, their strength of schedule isn't as good as ours," and then turn around and say, "Oh, well, the last team in our conference could beat anybody anywhere else," and then gripe about that last team in the conference not being able to beat anybody anywhere else. So you can't have it both ways, SEC. Pick a side and stay on it. All right. Well, does anyone have any other moments from bowl season? Maybe a favorite play or something that you enjoyed? How was that for you guys? What moment stood out to you on bowl season?
Well, for me, it was being able to pretty much turn on television at any time of the day after 12 o'clock and catching a game pretty much every day for 2 weeks. So that was fun.
Yeah. I don't really like the Monday afternoon bowl games. I think you really take away from basically the only people watching that one are scouts, because even if you are a fan of some of those Monday afternoon games, i.e. the Potato Bowl up in Boise, you can't, you're half the people are at work still. I mean, 1 o'clock on a Monday, you're at work. So I don't know. I think there needs to be a massive overhaul of bowl season, especially in the era of the CFP, and we'll get to it a little bit later on in the show. So I'm not going to touch too much on it now, but I don't know. There just needs to be some kind of something going on.
And we had that.
Yep.
So we had that exciting North Texas San Diego State game. I don't know if you guys saw that, but man, that was something else. 49-47.
I missed that one, and I hate myself for missing it once I saw the score.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take over Sunday.
NFL's trying to take over Saturday. We can take over Sunday.
Kick NFL off. Let's
Yeah.
keep our college going. Kick them off. Take over Sunday and evening games and Sunday games and Saturday.
Better product.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get rid of the NFL is rigged crowd. They'll have actual football to watch on Sunday.
I just like watching kickoff returns.
Or do this. Put the D2 and 3s on Sunday. Todd, I think you made the mention that what was it, D2 doesn't get their day.
No, they had
LCS.
No, it was D2 had
Yeah.
to play on the same day as the no, I don't remember exactly what they played when there was like 4 other games going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even the Division III got their own night on Sunday night. Unfortunately, they had to go up against the Steelers-Ravens game. But you know, they at least had, you know, their own, I guess, their own window for college football at least.
Right.
Oh,
How about that Montana State and Indiana State ending. Was that
Or
crazy or
Illinois
what?
State. Yeah, that was
Illinois.
crazy.
Yeah, Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole second half was just incredible. So, yeah, that was great. How about what didn't change is that USC still can blow a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. We know that didn't change at all. So
Lincoln Riley coached.
I mean, I don't know how they let a backup quarterback make those plays in the last 5 minutes of that game with a 10-point lead, but USC give them an inch and they'll figure out how to give it up.
Yep. And again, TikTok, if you're over there in the TikTok verse, you're more than welcome to comment, share, and like the videos and all that. I will try and read all your comments as I see them pop up. If I don't see them, I'm sorry. But if you want to be a part of the show and see the show in its entirety, hop over to the Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel and subscribe, view the show, leave your comments. We'll post them on air, read them, and discuss them. Casey, Notre Dame, do they feel vindicated after Alabama's drubbing last week?
I mean, I would think so. I mean, if anybody watched the SEC all season long, Alabama they had injuries and whatnot, but they just did not belong in the CFP. And I think if you take out the SEC bias, they're not in. I mean, this is probably the first time I remember watching the college football playoff where they lose their conference championship game and don't even move down.
Right.
Like how that happens, I mean, you can't tell me that there's not a bias.
Especially where everybody else moved down, including a 3-point loss in Ohio State, where they dropped to 2 from 1.
Yep.
So, I mean, and Alabama got blown out and doesn't drop at all.
And I think they get blown out worse.
Sure, yeah. And Todd, I'm sure you can make a claim to that, losing 3 points and dropping 1 and then getting blown out in the SEC championship game and not dropping. How does that make Ohio State fans feel?
Well, I mean, I was a big proponent of Ohio State dropping to 3 because I saw the bracket and I thought I would surely rather play Ole Miss than I would the winner of the Miami Texas A&M game. Now, could Ole Miss have done what they did to Ohio State's defense against that, all year long overranked Georgia defense? I don't think they would have, but anyways, we are where we're at. And I think if Georgia was 2, they'd probably be here now. So we'll see. The committee's the committee. We can't get into their brains or we'd go crazy.
Right. Speaking of Miami, they've got a little ball game coming up tomorrow night. The Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Number 10 Miami is 12-2. And they'll be playing number 6 Ole Miss 13-1. Miami does hold the series lead 2-1. Todd, what are you kind of looking for in this Miami game?
For me to start, it's going to be how Ole Miss's offensive line handles this pass rush of Miami. Are they going to be able to give Trinidad Chambliss enough time to create these plays that take time to create? I mean, look at that one play where he started at the 29-yard line, went to the 2-yard line, came back around. Like these were just kind of long developing plays that I don't know that Miami is going to give them that kind of freedom to create madness. So that's what I'm going to look at first. And then obviously, I think Carson Beck's going to have a little better game throwing the football here than he has the last 2 games. He's been, kind of, what do you have, like 125 yards a game in the last 2 games. I think he's going to have to be a little better in this game because I think they're going to need to, I think they're going to need to score about 21 points to win this game here. Yeah. So, and remember, they did score 24 against Ohio State, but one of those was a pick 6. And the other one came with 58 seconds left to go in the game. So, for 59 minutes, Ohio State held them to basically 10 points offensively.
Right.
So I think they're going to have to. That Ole Miss's defense is nowhere near as good as Ohio State. It's not even close.
Yeah. Casey, Julian Sayin versus Ruben Bain Jr. Who's winning that one? Or not Julian? Excuse me,
Trinidad.
Chambliss. Trinidad Chambliss. Yeah, sorry, I'm got Ohio State on the brain. Trinidad
I mean,
Chambliss versus Ruben Bain Jr. Uh, Ruben was all over Julian Sayin against Ohio State. Really
I,
pressured him early. Does he get
I
early to Chambliss?
I would say yeah. I mean, the other thing is Trinidad's got a lot more mobility than Sayin does. I mean, Sayin's not a statue in the pocket, but Chambliss makes some really good plays with his feet when he gets outside the pocket and has room. But how if Bain doesn't go in the top 10 in the draft, it will be beyond me. The dude has been a wrecking ball all season long. I mean, watching Notre Dame and then play in the beginning of the season and then what he did, I thought it was just Notre Dame's offensive line had the gel. I didn't really give him the respect and props he was due, but he is balled out this year. So I really do think Miami's defensive line is going to give Ole Miss a lot of problems. So I could see Miami actually winning this one somewhat comfortably. I mean, just depends if Ole Miss can get the ball down the field.
Yeah. We have people coming in on TikTok. We are live on YouTube and Facebook as well. The full show's on YouTube, Bronco Nation Updates YouTube. Head on over there if you want to take in the full experience of the show. Otherwise, you just get Nick and I's face. But you can still hear the show here and do that. You can leave your comments here. We'll get to them if we have time. We'll post them on the show in YouTube if you make your comments over there. Getting back to Ruben Bain, 13 tackles for loss this year, 9.5 sacks, 3 sacks coming against Texas A&M, and he was all over Sayin the entire game, not really letting him get set to pass. Nick, do you think Ole Miss's front line has a chance to stop Ruben?
I actually do. I think Miami's defense, I think, is comparable to Georgia. Georgia's may have been a little bit overrated, but I'm just super impressed by Ole Miss. I think I said in our little group chat that for whatever reason I thought I was out of this this race for our brackets, but now I'm right back in there. Had Georgia won, I think I would have had one more win than everybody.
Yep.
And if Indiana wins, then I could have taken it. But and I mentioned that I'm not even mad about that Georgia loss, because that's a heck of a game, and Ole Miss showed heck of a heart, and I think Ole Miss can score on Miami.
Yeah. Ole Miss wide receiver Harrison Wallace the third had one of his best games against Georgia, finishing with 9 catches for 156 yards and the touchdown. You think he's going to be able to get open against this Miami secondary, and more importantly, get open quick if Bain's coming down hard on him?
I think so.
I think he can.
Yeah. I foresee a lot of screen passes and slants, bubble routes. What do you think, Pop?
Always. Tight ends, use them. The only way you're going to beat that secondary is to use your short routes and let them break them for runs.
Yeah. The hard count probably be a good thing to bring in. try and get him to jump off. Malachi Toney on the other side of the ball led all FBS freshmen with 94 catches and 1,000 yards, 1,008 yards on the year. I had the game-winning catch against Texas A&M. Casey, what do you think Tony's role is going to be in this game, and can Ole Miss find ways to not let him wreak havoc like he did against Ohio State?
I mean, the one thing I'll say about Ole Miss is defensively, they don't have the talent, match for match as they probably teams like Georgia did. The one thing I got to give Shannon Dawson and Miami credit on the offense is he is really it's a chess game for him. He's going to start out stretching Ole Miss horizontally, and then as soon as they start biting, he's going to go over their heads like that. And that's Tony's going to be used on jet sweeps. He's going to be used as decoys on certain plays. I actually was really surprised at how physical they were against Ohio State and how well they ran the ball against that Ohio State defense. They actually showed me some toughness in that game, which I did not expect them to have with Cristobal as their coach.
So another question coming into this game was Ole Miss assistant coaches, offensive coordinator, and running backs coach, were they going to get to coach in this game with signing day and portal and everything needing them in LSU? Were they going to get to coach this game? It looks like they are going to. Todd, do you think they get to coach the national championship if they win, or will they finally have to make a choice, LSU or Ole Miss?
Well, I think if they win, they're going to. I really think this situation this week is a lot different than it was going into the quarterfinals, because the transfer portal wasn't open until January 2nd. I mean, yeah, kids were going there, but there was really no ability to sign anybody there.
Right.
But if you look at what happened here, Ole Miss and Georgia, that game ended at whatever it was, 11:30 or 11 o'clock or whatever time frame it was over on Thursday night. They literally didn't even make it to the airplane and the transfer portal opened, right? So like it opened at midnight on Friday. And the thing I think here, and I think this is the same for Oregon, we're not talking about Oregon yet, but we have two teams here in Indiana and Miami who don't have coaches and the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator leaving, right? Their staffs are staying together. But we have Ole Miss and Oregon whose staffs are leaving, right? Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. And now Ole Miss has a 6-day window to get ready for this game. Remember, like I said, they ended at 11 o'clock on Thursday night, and they're kicking off at 7:30 on the next Thursday. My math, that's 6 days of getting ready. And during that time, all four, well, the head coach and both coordinators are all in the transfer portal on both teams for different teams. You know, does that make sense? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all looking for the same players for different teams. So I think this is going to be where the difference in these games may come down to, is the preparation at Miami. Miami's had a full extra day of prep here. Like, they were prepping when Ole Miss was just getting off the bus back from their airplane, ride back. Now, like you said last week, it was a short little ride there from Louisiana to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But it's still like, you still got to go to sleep at some point. And, Miami was already game planning. So I think that's going to be an advantage for both Miami and Indiana, and a little bit of a disadvantage for Oregon and Ole Miss.
Yeah. Again, TikTok, I know I've said it a couple times, but if you're watching over there, you can be a part of the live show on Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel. We'll post your comments on live. Over here, you just get to see Nick and I, but you can hear everything that's going on. So the game is tomorrow night at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern Time. Again, the 12-2 Miami Hurricanes against the 13-1 Ole Miss Rebels. This opened at a 3-point favorite for Miami. It's now grew to 3.5 with a 51.5 over under that has grown to 52.5. ESPN's got Miami winning 57.1% of the time. Nick, is this a upset if Ole Miss wins, or is this just two teams that, offense versus defense? We're about to see if defense still wins championships.
Well, it's going to be an upset if Ole Miss wins. Right now, Miami's favored. I do think it comes down to it's going to come down to, can Miami stop Trinidad Chambliss and the Rockin' Rebels? That's how I see this game going. If Miami can, or apply some pressure and limit what Chambliss has been able to do, both in the air in with his legs, and then if they can stop Lacey, then they could win. But I think that the margin's narrow for a win in that. Um, I'm I'm really thinking that Ole Miss is going to upset Miami, if you want to call it an upset. I hear what you're saying, and to me it's not really an upset. I actually think that Ole Miss is the better team.
Yeah, and I mean, at this stage in the game, are there really upsets, Pop?
Well, the question is, you watch those games, how much of the magic have they got left in their bag? I mean, there was some phenomenal things happen in order to get scores. Everything, plays that once in a lifetime kind of things went on in order to get their victories. How much magic is left in their bag? I like Ole Miss. I'd like to pick Ole Miss over Miami, but I'm not even sure it comes down to athletic capabilities as much as what it's going to be. How much air went out of the bag when they won and was able to make it to the quarterfinals? Are they able to keep their focus? Are they able to be motivated and geared up and to where they're able to complete the plays that are called in the huddle, or defense or offense?
Yeah. Nick, you mentioned Lacey. I do you think he's going to slow down Bain, Ruben, or just because of his pure athletic ability and running, or are they going to assign somebody else to cover that edge to uh, so that Bain can go off and do his stuff?
Well, if they're smart, they're going to take a couple tight ends and chip the edge there, and give Chambliss some protection that way, give him some time. But if he does get through, then that's where Pop was talking about those, hitting those short in the in the slant, in the slot. That's going to be your answer if Bain's coming in there and getting in the pocket, or you're also going to have somebody kind of keeping an eye on Chambliss, because he can burn you with his legs too. So I mean, it's going to be interesting how they decide to play, how they decide to scheme the defense around this Ole Miss offense.
Yeah. Ole Miss has the 37th ranked rushing attack at 180 yards a game, and Miami has the 5th ranked rushing defense, giving up 84 yards a game. Todd, do you see any of that moving around?
Well, when you look at this Ole Miss team, I feel like they're not going to have as good of opportunity to move the ball here against this Miami team. But I go back and I look, they played Oklahoma, which, anybody that watched Oklahoma this year, that was a extremely challenging defense, and they scored 34 points. They played the Florida Gators, and Florida's offense was terrible, but their defense was one of the best in the country considering what they were put into. They scored 34 points. They played Georgia twice and scored 35 one game and 39 the other game. We'll call it 37 without the last second safety. So, yeah, they absolutely do. They've played what I consider, some solid defenses and put 30 points on them, 30 plus points. So I think they have a real shot. I'm kind of like Pop though there. I think you got two teams coming into this game, and I think Ole Miss won probably the biggest game in program history last week, and Miami didn't. Yes, they beat Ohio State, but I don't think that it was like Miami's greatest win ever. It might have been in the last 20 years, but it's whatever. Ole Miss, that game against Georgia was the biggest win they've had in whatever 100 years. Like it's got to be weighing on them a little bit. You know how teams are after they win games like that. They generally come out the next week and they're a little bit flat.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you worry about the slump after a big win like that, Pop? You worry about a slump coming in and then having to get right back up to play another high rank.
I'm not prone to worry, but I would say there's ample concern. However, I don't think Miami won the game last week. I think Ohio lost.
I would
And
agree with that.
and so Ole Miss won their game. And if they can ride the crest of that wave, they can put a whooping on Miami.
Yeah. What do you think, Casey?
Honestly, I think the big thing worth forgetting about all this is Messador on the other side of the Miami defensive line. I mean, there are two very good, ends on either side. I think if Ole Miss is going to run the ball, they're going to have to run it between the tackles. And I did see that it looks like Ahmed Moten is actually going to play in this game, who was a little bit banged up, which I think could be a difference maker. Ole Miss's line is big, but I can't overstate this enough. Miami's defensive coordinator, who came over from Minnesota, is really good at scheming coverages. That was one thing about the Ohio State game that actually kind of blew me away, is how they were able to confuse Sayin that not many other teams could do. I mean, they pretty much shut down Smith and Tate aside from a play here and a play there. There was no consistent, Sayin was just uncomfortable the whole game. So, he can run, but I think if Lacey doesn't move on the ground, it's going to be a long day for Ole Miss. But they do have that Lane Kiffin offense that literally you can be out of the game, and then within like the final 10 minutes of the game, come back and win it. So Miami's going to have to play defense and play disciplined the entire 60 minutes.
And you brought up Messador, and that prompted me to look it up. He's got, as much as we've been talking about Bain, Messador's got more tackles, more sacks, and has forced 4 fumbles this year. So yeah, they got beasts on both ends of the defensive line.
Well, that's because Bain's got the short arms. Haven't you heard that about his?
Yeah, kid's got a motor though. That kid has a motor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Casey, who do you got in this game? Obviously, no one picked Miami. Actually, I take that back. Jacob Blaymeyer, Bronco believer, he did pick Miami. So, oddly enough, but you don't have a dog in this fight on your bracket, Casey. Who do you got for winning this one though?
I mean, from the historical aspect, I would love to see Ole Miss do something special, and add to the Lane Kiffin hate. I just think the way Miami is playing in these big games, Cristobal apparently cannot get his team up to play in the games that don't matter, but the games that do matter, he has his team prepared. And the one question I will say is, how good is the SEC? How good were the Georgia Bulldogs after watching Alabama get whooped up on when Alabama gave Georgia, there's no out of conference play there to really gauge the talent, but I think Miami wins it. But it would be a hell of a story if Ole Miss won.
Yeah. And that's one thing that one of the storylines I'm rooting for is Indiana and Ole Miss in the national championship game, just to screw with everybody. The other storyline is Indiana and Miami, just to ensure the SEC. So,
sorry, I was laughing at my son over here. Sorry.
Tell him to hop on. We got.
Well, I was just hold on a second. Let's get this thing. He was going to make a quick surprise appearance here, but go ahead and finish what you were saying there.
Yeah. No, that's it. Those are the two storylines I'm hoping for. So the outcome of this game feeds into both storylines, being either Indiana and or Oregon for that matter, and Miami versus Ole Miss or one of those two. I'd rather see Miami make it just to ensure the SEC doesn't make a national championship again, just so we can do all that.
There would be nothing worse, in my opinion, for Ole Miss to win the national championship. Wow. I mean, it would be fun because Ole Miss is not what I would consider an elite SEC team, but for them to have such a terrible bowl season and then to come out and beat a Miami and then
Right.
obviously an old Oregon or an Indiana, I just think that would be enough to drive me bonkers and take me off TikTok for the rest of the
Well,
for the next
Todd,
3 months.
you kind of feel the that but except from the opposite side, because everyone thought Ohio State shouldn't have made it after losing to Michigan, not winning their conference championship game, and then they went on to run the tables and go. Your argument is for the entirety of a conference, where everybody else's argument was for one single team, and you were on the winning side of that last year. So
Right.
now the entire SEC conference is rooting for one team to do the exact same thing that Ohio State did last year.
Well, yeah, in a way. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, Casey, what was your final score for this one?
Ooh, give me Miami 35-31.
All right. And TikTok, shoot your final scores for Miami and Ole Miss into the comment section. I'll keep an eye out for them and read them out if any of you want to do that. Again, if you want to be part of the entire show, head on over to the Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel, subscribe, and leave your comments there. We'll put them up on the screen. Pop, what are your thoughts on this game? Who do you want to win it, and by how many?
I I want Ole Miss to win it, but I'm picking Miami.
Score?
I think at 35-31, pretty good.
All right. Nick?
Yeah, I like this game. I like the storylines. There's two ways that you can go about it. You can revel and celebrate in the fact that an SEC team didn't make it to the championship, or you can revel in the effect in the Lane Kiffin effect. You know, it just won't die. This soap opera and drama, and I love it.
He's still making money off of this, by the way. LSU gave him money. Like, the further Ole Miss goes, he's still getting paid.
But I love this because I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's a brilliant leader of men and leader and coach. But I love it for the fact that he's on the outside and watching this team. He jumped ship. He's not a housewife, obviously, and and I would love for him to be on the sideline, just watching the team that he built go all the way, and him, not get the credit. And it'd be even more epic is if the staff that's there decides, hey, wait a minute, if they were to go win the championship, wait a minute, we're a national championship staff. I don't think that we're going to go to LSU. I think we'll stay right here.
That would be insane.
That would be awesome. But I still think no matter what, Lane's going to have some success at LSU. He's got enough money there. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but I do think that I think Ole Miss is going to outclass the Hurricanes. I think they're going to ride this. I think even though last week's bowl game in the playoff was their biggest game, I think they're going to top it. I really do. And I think their defense is a lot better than people think. And I think they're going to really bring it to Carson, to Beck. And he's probably going to be crying the whole time. So I think Ole Miss is going to win 30-10.
Ooh.
All right. Pop, or I already went to you. Todd. I knew it was one of the old guys. Sorry.
Hey. I'm gonna go. I'm going to go with Miami here. I think we're on a potential destiny for the Cuban Bowl in Miami with Cristobal versus Fernando Mendoza potentially, and all of that coming together in Miami of all places. So I just think that Ole Miss has a lot to overcome here with like I said, with what's going on in the transfer portal, their coaches, and I don't think Miami's worried about any of that with their other coaches. So I'm going to go Miami. I'm going to go low. You guys went way too high for me. I'm going 21-17 Miami.
All right, now you got to get your son on there, and
I was going to let him give you his predictions and take a 2-second break here and check on my dog. So I'll be back here in a second, and we'll put the king of D3 on here. Hold on a second.
while he's changing out, TikTok again. We love seeing you pop in and out over here. If you want to be a part of the show, head on over to the Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel. Subscribe, leave your comments there. We'll put them on the show. The only feed you get here is just Nick and I, and the occasional pop whenever I put it over there on him. But for now, it's just Nick and I. We'll work TikTok out and get it all production worthy and everything as we get more into the TikTok stratosphere. But yeah, we have the Sandberg Jr., the D3 King. What are your predictions for Miami and Ole Miss?
Well, for Miami and Ole Miss, I heard him talk about the delay with the game ending it. He was given all these numbers that were wrong. It ended at exactly 11:56 because he literally looked at me and said, if this game ends at midnight, Georgia's going to somehow win, which somehow would have happened. And I will say this, Pops, I think you're 100% right with magic. I think Ole Miss has a lot of magic, and they used a lot of it in that game. Are they going to be able to keep it up? I think they're going to be able to keep it up a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep it up the whole time. So I'm going to say it's going to be a lower scoring game that Ole Miss usually has. Now, with Miami, if a better Ohio State team came in there, I think Miami still probably would have won that game. But I think it would have helped Miami a little bit better because Ohio State looked terrible in the first half, and they didn't really do anything offensively. That screenplay was awful. It was designed to look exactly like a screenplay, and they knew that. And Jeremiah Smith didn't block that. So I don't think that it would have been nearly. I think it would have probably been a 3-point game for Miami if those couple things changed, and I think it would have been better for Miami because they would have came in with a little bit better of a chip on their shoulder. But they coming in thinking, well, we beat this really good team, and they beat this really good team. But I don't think they're going to be. I don't think Miami's going to be flat because he mentioned that if you beat a really good team like that, you might be flat the next week. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be flat because I think they're going to have enough magic, like what Pop was talking about. But Miami might be a little flat because they're going to need. What's their running back's name? Is it what's his name? I can't remember his name.
For Miami?
Yes.
It is. 2 seconds.
It's that freshman.
Fletcher.
No, not Fletcher. The freshman.
Oh.
For Miami, the running back.
Hold on, let me pull up there.
It's
I was already on to the next game.
Lindsey.
So.
Lindsey.
Okay.
Lindsey's going to have at least 150 yards himself to beat this Ole Miss team and to beat their magic. I don't think they're going to have to beat Ole Miss's defense as much as they're going to have to beat Ole Miss's magical offense. I mean, that guy ran in that Georgia game. He ran back to the goal line and then ran back up to the 30 and then threw the ball for a 20-yard gain. Not a lot of people can do that without magic.
So for Miami?
Oh, no. No, we're going Ole Miss. I think they're going to win by...
No. I mean the running back for Miami.
Yes, the running back for Miami is going to have at least 150 yards himself to keep Miami into this game.
And who? I'm just trying to see who it is. I'm not seeing a Lindsey on their running back.
Is it not Lindsey for Miami?
No.
I thought. What's that? The freshman's name?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm trying to.
Not Lindsey.
Tremar Brown's a sophomore.
Brown, Pringle, Lyle, Humphrey.
Pringle's a freshman.
That freshman for Miami, I think he's a freshman that everyone's been talking about. He's been really, really good. He really
Probably Pringle. He's averaging 6 yards a carry.
Pringle.
Yeah, Mark Fletcher leads the team with 947 yards. Pringle at 375. And
Wes
then
Malone
Brown,
38 though.
And then Brown of 415.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lindsey's not a running back. He's that one receiver that plays everywhere on the field, isn't he?
Lofton?
No. All right. Maybe I have his name wrong in my head, but
I mean Tony, because Tony's a freshman and he's
Tony. What's his last name?
Malachi Tony.
Malachi Tony. Okay. Yeah. He's dynamic. Isn't he the guy that's been just ripping up teams?
Yeah.
Yeah. Malachi Tony. Sorry, I can't read my hand here. They
you have your notes on your hand?
I did. I was driving and I was taking notes because I was listening to you guys on the way home. But yeah, he's dynamic. Because he's been doing everything. If they can hold him personally to less than 150 yards, passing and rushing combined, they're going to win that game. If they can't, I don't know. I don't think they could win that game. I think Ole Miss is going to come out with that game though, because I think they're going to hold them just enough.
And what was your score?
I'm going to give it 24. I'm going to give it 24-17.
24-17. Hey, that was a common theme last week.
Mm-hmm. I like that number.
And none of them went there.
No, none of them went there.
I think the closest was 23-0. But all right. So I'm terrible with names, and you're gonna have to tell me your name again because I look at you and I just want to say Todd.
It's Jack.
Jack. I knew that too, and I almost said that. No, that's not his name. I second guessed myself. Dang it. That's why I don't ever win the lottery. I always have the exact numbers every week, and I always second guess myself and miss it every time.
Well,
all right, Jack. You gonna stick around?
Oh well, he's not back yet. So how about I give you my quick Indiana, Oregon, and then by that time he should be back.
Well, yeah, we can do that, or we can go to a break and then come back. And then
let me just give you these, and then I'll force them.
Well, I'm just saying, if you go to the break, you ain't back yet, you can come in, give us how you want to fix bowl season.
Ooh, all right, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, all right, we're gonna head to a break. TikTok, head on over to Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel to see the show in its entirety. If you're on here, you just get Nick and I, and we're ugly. So go ahead and go over. You can get Jack, Todd, and Casey to kind of even out the screen a little. So head on over there. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break and be right back. Welcome back, college football fans. If you haven't noticed, Todd found the fountain of youth during the break and turned himself into Jack. Jack, what was you weren't here for the start of the show. What was your favorite moments in bowl season so far this year?
Well, I mean, that Pop-Tart Bowl at the end, they found a way to make it really interesting. I thought the Gin and Juice Bowl was going to be really interesting at the end, and I mean, the after show wasn't that great, but that BYU game and Georgia Tech was an amazing game, and
Yeah.
wow, I mean, that would be the highlighted game. The moments would probably just be the little moments in that game where it was just going back and forth, and maybe Georgia Tech has a chance to come here, and maybe it was just real close at the end, and it was an exciting bowl to watch. The rest of the games were average. There wasn't many games that were really close. The Texas Michigan game, mid third quarter, was probably one of the most dynamic, fun to watch games there was to watch. Sadly, Texas kind of pulled off there, and it didn't become. It was Texas that won that game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. Sadly, it couldn't happen all the way through the end, but that if you watched that second half, it was pretty exciting. They made it look like they were playing for the national championship.
Yep. The Houston game, that was fun to watch too.
That was a fun game to watch.
Yep.
It wasn't nearly as dynamic, and they weren't nearly as mad at each other, but it was still a fun game to watch.
All right. So I touched on this last week. I said, what are we doing with these bowl schedules, or not schedules, but distances? You had every team last week traveled over 1,000 yards, except for the SEC matchup between Ole Miss and Georgia, who didn't drive 1,000 yards combined. I made the suggestion that it needs to be regional. Do away with bowl affiliation. Go regional. Still have your playoff bowls as they are, but make them regional and go from there. Nick, how would you fix bowl season?
Well, I mean, look at here. Look at the screen here. You got Indiana and Oregon at the Peach Bowl, and you got Miami and Ole Miss at the Fiesta Bowl. Now, I don't know. You don't have to be a smart man to know that, man, that's like clear across the country for all four fan bases, pretty much. That's, I mean, that's one way. I mean, I'm all right with that, but, a little consistency would help out because, as a Boise State Bronco fan, I remember last year, I really wanted to go to a different bowl than the Fiesta Bowl because we've been there time and time again. It's like, hey, this is like the Boise State Bowl. I wouldn't have mind going to the Peach Bowl or something else, the Orange Bowl. But this year they've got the teams just racking up the friendly flyer miles, man. And so, I mean, I'm all for doing that, but just be consistent. And then, the next time Boise State comes in, don't just relegate us to the Fiesta Bowl again. That would be the fourth time.
Yeah.
Other than that, go ahead.
Yep. No, go for it. Yep.
Okay. Other than that, I think, I think the door to the transfer portal kind of screws up everything, screws up the coaching carousel, who's playing in bowls. I think if they were to crack the whip on this thing and, push the transfer portal back to maybe set like a revolving date, like a week after the championship. Then it opens for the 2 weeks. And then that would, I think that we'd probably get a better product in these bowls. You wouldn't see, all these, the drama on this coach is coaching in two places. This coach wants to coach in the playoff, but he can't because the school won't let him. That would probably help a lot of it. You don't want to make it too far out from the championship game because you want these teams to get everything together before they get into spring ball.
Yeah. And a lot of the argument is not so much, I mean, yeah, there's scheduling arguments and admissions and all that you got to deal with. Um, there's been people that have said, "Don't let them enroll early. Enroll with the rest of the incoming, transfers out of high school that are waiting for, fall ball. Just let them go then. Let them complete their stuff, open up, maybe do a summer workout camp instead of, spring ball. You can do spring ball too, but maybe do a summer workout camp where you got them coming in the summer. It's no longer kids going to school to play. They are now getting paid to play the game. So it is now a, um it's a job.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you this important announcement from the Emergency Sports Broadcasting Network. Weak constitutions should seek shelter immediately. Pop is about to pop off.
I don't know that I've got anything different. All I do when I pop off is speak from the heart. Everybody knows that with the events over the last few years, college football is broken. It is no longer like it ever was before. It will never be like that again. And unless drastic measures are taken, the product will eventually get so deteriorated that you'd rather watch curling or tiddlywinks contest because of all the, even if it's not intended, the result of corruption within it. You talk about bowl games here. You talk about what the portal is doing. I mean, we sat down here in these previous rants and said, look, we need to realign the conferences and get it to where there's 12 conferences, 4 at large. Everybody has to do a conference playoff. Winners play in the playoffs. Simple. Take it away from the committee. Get rid of that problem. If they want to pick the 4 at largest, make it a 16-game playoff, let them do it. Let them feel like they're getting something done. We talk about this NIL and this portal business and how the money has corrupted everything, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, instead of talking about, oh, so-and-so's going to go to Notre Dame because that's where they want to go, it's, yeah, they paid $5 million. Not Notre Dame, but somebody paid $5 million for their quarterback, and they paid this for their front line. And it's like listen to somebody talk about the NFL. College football is $1 million business. That's why in a previous rant, I said we need to start a college football draft. Draft them. Do away with, oh, he's a redshirt freshman and all of this. Sign him to a 6-year or to a contract. Just make it a straight. You're eligible for 6 years. You do your first 2 years under contract to the school that drafts you. And people can trade their drafts and do all kinds of whatever they want to do inside of it. But it's got to happen. Otherwise, you're going to have some power teams and money teams are able to buy people and everybody else isn't. And this NIL portal thing, why in the world would you not have that go until after the last game is played? No player, no coach should be able to even talk portal or talk leaving unless they're fired for cause because they're, doing something they shouldn't be doing. But none of them should be able to talk about going anywhere until the last game of the season is played. That's got to be the way that it gets done. And then we talked about the axis of evil. ESPN makes $80 billion a year. 80, that's with a B. And most of that off of the football side of things. And the NCAA makes $1 billion a year, and all of it media controlled. The media is controlling where your football's going. They're the ones that are bringing it down and ruin it for everybody else. We talked about there needs to be some financial equity behind it and ways to spread that money out. Realigning the conferences is the way to do it. Getting rid of the NIL and just say, hey, here's your cap. You can't pay salaries above this. This is what you can pay to get your players, and you can't do anything else. That's the size of it. And then we get down to, okay, now we've got ESPN buying SEC, buying the rights to the SEC. Okay, so now what are we going to have, like ABC by the ACC and somebody else by some other conference, and then all we're going to have is corporate wars. And then we talk about all this kind of stuff. Now we want to fix the bowl games. Well, you know, if they're as broke the way things are set up now as what the rest of college football is, you're going to have to look at them. Do you want to make them regional? You're not going to be able to keep the traditions of, oh, it's a Rose Bowl, oh, it's a Fiesta Bowl, oh, it's the Orange Bowl. We got all of these traditions. We want to go do this. We want to go play there. You got to get out of La La Land. We cannot have a college football that's traditional and still have it a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's just not going to work. So I keep talking, we got to make these changes. And here's all I hear. We can't do that. There's no way that we can do that. There's no way that we can get them to bust up the conferences and realign them. There's no way we can do away with all of these traditions and all of these different things. That it's just not going to happen. Well, you know what? They said there's no way we could defeat the British Empire, and we did it. And they said there was no way that we'd go to space, and we walked on the moon. They say there's no way to do all kinds of different things, but somebody's got to believe we can do it. Somebody has got to pick up the mantle, look at this thing, step far enough back from the forest to see the trees, understand that money's controlling things and ruining the sports, and get in there and stop the money from controlling it and get the control back to the people, back to the fans, back to the point to where what we're getting as a finished product is what we deserve as the ones that support it, because it's our money that's paying ESPN. It's our money that's sending the kids to the schools. It's our tax money that's propping up a lot of their programs. And the NCAA is not pleading the cause for the universities that it should be pleading, because it's in the pockets of ESPN, who has the major conferences in their pocket, and we've got to break up that cabal. I keep calling for somebody, please, younger than me, smarter than me, with more resources than me, that doesn't look like, oh, he's just a long-haired old loon, what does he know? Somebody with intelligence, pick up the mantle, start working to get the job done, because you can do it if you put your mind to it, put your resources to it, get enough people behind you to back up what we want done. Call your congressmen, call your senators, make it a grassroots kind of deal. I always end up saying this is a war. We're in a battle. We need to take back our college football. We need to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
Fairly certain that's your tagline. All right. Well, fellas,
Dang, Pop.
Jack, you've never been on air. Oh, you might have been on one where Pop pops off. What do you think?
Well, Pop, I don't disagree that there needs to be a realignment in some things, but sadly, I don't think you can do a draft, because at the end of the day, the college is for the kids. And if they want to be an engineer and the school that they would get drafted to doesn't have the engineering program, it doesn't work for them. There are a lot of players that, yes, they make their living off of football, but there's not twice, like 5 times as much they have to go in the real world, and they have to go work. And sadly, if all of them could go, if the National Football League, you only played for 4 years and then you moved out, that would work. But sadly, that's not how the National Football League works. There's guys that play in there for 10, 15 years. So only 32 of the best players get to play that position. So not all of them are going to play forever. The conference realignment, I don't think it can sadly happen, as much as I would like to see some of the conferences change. I just don't think no one's going to budge. At the end of the day, Alabama doesn't want to leave the SEC. Ohio State's not going to want to leave the Big Ten. These are the big teams that they're just going to sit in their conference and stay in there forever, as long as the conference doesn't leave. But maybe I agree with some of the things, such as, we need to have maybe a realignment with, Nick mentioned something about how the bowls are all over, and he doesn't want to go to the Fiesta Bowl every year, every time Boise State gets in. So why don't we rotate some of these bowls around? So, so maybe the Big Ten type of bowl isn't the Rose Bowl every year. Maybe we go to the Peach Bowl. I know it's a Georgia type of bowl.
Let's not get crazy.
I know we're not going to get crazy. I don't want to get crazy. But if we don't want these, if we don't want these teams to have to travel so far, well, at the end of the day, Ohio State's going to have to travel far. Oregon's going to have to travel far. Florida's going to have to travel far if it's in the center of the country, because they're in the corners of the country. So we can't please everybody. But if we want to change up some of the bowls, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But we can't take out all the tradition, because if we do, then, the closest thing, I agree with Pops, if the tradition is almost gone, we can't try to add tradition. You can only take so much out. And I don't want to take any more out. But if we're going to take any out, take the bowls.
At the end of the day, what we like or don't like is going to be irrelevant. Whenever you look at the path that college football is taking, ever since the NIL come in and turned it into a money game, ever since the portals came in and turned that into a waiver, semi-draft, whatever you want to call it, to where the lower schools groom a player and then the power conferences scoop them up with the money that they've got to do. Eventually, no matter how you say you don't want to do it, or we can't do it, or the power conferences are going to go against it. I'll tell you what, if the NCAA ruled you're not going to be sanctioned, games aren't sanctioned unless you do, and ESPN was barred from putting them on the air to where they couldn't make any money off of them unless the realignment occurred, it would occur. That's why in one rant I called for somebody to do an antitrust deal against them and to break up the cabal. So, there's a lot of negatives. There's a lot of hard hurdles to get over, but the entire thing is going to crumble down around your ears to where only the very wealthy of the schools is going to have any kinds of success. You'll see a time, Boise State, and I bleed blue, so I'm biased, but I watched them from college days all the way up. We were involved, my family, in building their stadiums and doing all kinds of things way back in the day. And they had to struggle. And every time they got over one hurdle, they'd put another hurdle in front of us and another hurdle in front of us. And to try and keep us from getting up to where we could do anything. And then finally we kicked OU's butt. And now we're that, what do they call it? G5 darling or whatever, because we showed what we can do, and they talk about the two teams that made it. And, we wish they'd put on a better show. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of these power conference teams that put on even worse shows, as somebody brought up here. So that's not even an issue. The issue is it's going to boil down to money, 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 money. It ruins everything that it becomes a predominant factor in. And whether you want it to or not, the engineering degree is not the predominant factor now in college football. And I feel sorry for the guys that want to go to a school because that's where their daddy went to. That's their alma mater. That's where what they want to study is. That's why I said make it a 6-year kind of deal. What do you study your first 2 years? Nothing but basics. You don't get into the real meat of what it is that your major is on those first 2 years. If you got 6 years, you get those 2 years out of the way, then transfer, then go into your portal, get whatever school you want to go to lobby for you to come out of the portal and go to that school for whatever pay you want to go to, and you're where you want to be. But you get some equity for all of the schools in the first 2 years. And more so than that, right now, all of the lower schools are grooming stations that set up the players for the major conferences to buy out. and they get zero compensation. They've got a couple of years invested in these players, and they're gone. They should get some repayment for what they've put out in order to dress these players up to where they can be attractive to the major conferences. And if it's realigned, a lot of the problems in that respect disappear, because you've got 12 conferences, and all 12 conferences have a shot. They all have to win their conference championship to get into the playoffs. And so we make it a 16 playoff and let the committee pick those other 4 teams that didn't win their conference championships that they think ought to get in it. But it just, sooner or later, the reality of where college football has gone is going to come home to roost. I hope I'm no longer around when it happens. I do hope that somebody seriously takes a look at where everything's at now, and instead of trying to put a Band-Aid where they need a heart transplant, where they need a tourniquet, where they need a brain transplant, and gets this thing in line and pulls it back to the student and away from the money that's being made on college football. I mean, you think, well, we need to have the NIL so the player can make some money for what they're doing. Hell, ESPN's making $80 billion a year off of them. How much of that money are they getting? None. NCAA gets $1 billion a year off of what they get from the media. How come they're not getting that $80 billion or 50% of it or 60% of it, whatever, in order to give out to the schools and to the students and pay for highlight or whatever other kind of sport that doesn't attract enough to pay for itself?
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot, it's where it is.
So I like your proposal of the 6-year deal. where I come into this, and I'm gonna over the off season, I'm gonna craft an award-winning article that addresses like the fundamental and the foundational part of this, and that, you know, if they don't get a good foothold or like a cap on you know, the NIL, you know, these aren't college student athletes anymore. These are professional athletes. So something's going to have to happen, you know, even on the practice field, right? A lot of the minimums on the practice field were put in place before these student athletes were paid. So now, you know, especially for the mid majors, like, you know, my favorite team is you have the G5s trying to be like the P4s, and it's not going to happen. They have more money, so that means that practice needs to be open wide. If we're paying the players, let's pay them like pros, and they got to practice like pros, right? So that's the alternative where I can see the playing field getting leveled is with these G5s. You give them more leeway and more control of the coaches, what they can do on the practice field, and then you know, and then that's what's going to earn their keep. And I think that that's going to raise the product of the G5s to where you see a 2006, 2007 Boise State emerge again, to where Boise State once was, taking down the giants like Georgia, Virginia Tech, this and that. That's where the G5s are lacking right now. There's too many boundaries when it comes to practice now. Now that they're paying them, let them practice like pros. Give them 6 years, and then, you know, and if they can get a cap, then you put some guardrails on that. But until that, open it up.
And that's kind of what I was saying before I set up the perfect segue into popping off. It's they're no longer just going to school and having their education being their payment. So set your portal up to be after the national championship game. Make them finish their education at the school that they are at, and then have a summer session, a 2-3 week summer session, aside from spring and fall ball, to where those that are in the portal and going to that school the following year. And I understand schools don't want to give their resources to someone who's they're just going to leave. I get that. But this has to be nationwide or there's not going to be any reform at all. You can put them in their own classroom, the ones that are transferring out, you can put them in their own classroom. You can uh, just, and this is another thing too. And I don't know if I told you this or not, or you, Nick. If you are getting paid to play, I think you should have to pay all your scholarship back. You're getting paid to play. You no longer need scholarship money to be able to get there.
I like that.
You go, you make your money. If you make, let's say you make over $100,000 a year, 400,000 over 4 years, you have to pay back your schooling. Why should you be in millionaire status whenever there's a walk-on struggling to just to get there? Whenever that walk-on can get that scholarship and have everything met where he can focus on what he needs to get, why should you get your schooling for free whenever you can afford to pay for it?
Sam, the only problem with that is they just completely did away with walk-ons. You're now allowed 105 people on your roster.
Right.
So, I mean, they're essentially trying to, like, the 85 scholarship rule was great when your kids were actually, student athletes. Like we've touched on, they're no longer like college students. They are semi-professional players. Yeah. You're going to have to either let the NCAA go back to having a say in how they run things and cutting out all these BS lawsuits where all the individuality. I mean, it's like the NFL. The owners went from having all the power to the players having all the power. We're seeing the same transition in college sports where the players have all the power and the colleges have none of it. So get a contract and say, okay, you're on a 2-year contract. Breach of contract means you not only pay us back every dime we gave you, but you owe us, for the time and effort that we put into you.
And that's why everyone's watching that Georgia case right now. Because if that gets pushed through and Georgia wins, you're going to give the control right back to the universities.
There needs to be a happy medium. We've learned that and seeing, with one side has too much power, things never go well. But ever since the NCAA lost their control over the sport, because every time it would just go to an antitrust lawsuit before the Supreme Court, and then the NCAA pretty much had their power cut out from underneath of them, so they're too afraid to make a move. Like you got LSU student athletes taking online classes while living on campus. How are you a college student?
By location.
Yep. Geotag.
Oh boy. Well, there's another game coming up. Is there though? And it seems like no one really cares about this game. It's already been played once this year, and it's basically Oregon in the same position they were in last year, except roles reversed. Because now they have a chance to do to Indiana what Ohio State did to Oregon, and get their revenge. So let's kick this off with Jack. What do you think Oregon and Indiana is going to give us round 2?
Well, I think if Oregon can get the ball to their tight ends like they did against Texas A&M, I don't think Indiana can stop those tight ends. Those tight ends are dynamic. You've seen them there catching balls on the sideline. They're catching balls up the seams. They're catching drag routes. They're catching little short hitches. They're catching everything. And what that does is it opens up those receivers. If not just the linebackers worry about the tight ends, but these corners and this cover 2 are so worried about these tight ends running these short corner routes or these short out routes, it might open up a deeper 15-yard hitch, come back, any of those type of routes, which would really, I don't think Indiana could handle all that type of thing. We've seen it once this year, and Indiana came out over top. But, I was thinking about this when we were doing the Ole Miss Georgia game. It's hard to beat a team twice. Yes, you have a game plan of what worked, but you also know what didn't work, and they know it worked and they know it didn't work. So really, who can figure out how to make those work for them the most? And I don't know if Indiana can handle these tight ends like they've been doing. Oregon's tight ends. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle this. This Oregon D line has got so much better. They are able to give so much more pressure, but Indiana's O line is very, very dynamic as well. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a very hard fought battle. I think the game's going to really be in the trenches, along with the tight ends, and I think it's going to be Oregon. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring game than we usually see in the Big Ten. I think it's going to be probably a 35-27. It's going to be the opposite of what we think. It's going to be somehow high scoring because I think both of these defenses are going to they're going to throw something at them that they haven't seen before out of them, and they might get screwed up.
Yeah. Casey, you want to rebut?
I mean, going off, if you look at Indiana's schedule, every team that they played that actually had a decent line gave them fits. Iowa's defensive front seven, that was a 20-15 game. Oregon, the first game was 30-20, which I don't think Oregon really quite had figured themselves out on the offensive side of the ball then. And then Penn State, who, for all their flaws this season, realistically, Indiana should have lost that game except for one hell of a catch. And so, I mean, the blueprint's there. If Oregon can upset Mendoza and get pressure on him, they've got a chance. I do think it's going to still be a defensive game, though, where it's going to come down to being something stupid like it was before, 20-17 or 24-21, somewhere in that ballpark. I just don't see either team having the offensive weapons to really push the field vertically. But I will say this: between these two teams, if you could put a camera in each locker room for each pregame speech and each halftime speech, that's TV right there. I mean,
yeah.
Did any of you guys see with the speech that Lanning gave his team pre-Texas Tech?
No.
Basically saying that
oh wait,
what's the quote? Yeah, Texas Tech, there's a saying in Texas that all cap, no cattle, and he's like,
right.
That's the team we're playing. Whoever wins between Indiana and Oregon has the best media darling of a head coach in terms of motivation. I would take Dan Lanning or Signetti in terms of player motivation and game prep over anybody on Ole Miss in Miami. But yeah, now I mean Jack was right about some things. I just don't see it being a high scoring game because the two teams have played each other the last couple times. They're going to go back and watch what Signetti did at JMU. They're going to look what he did at Indiana, and they're going to game plan around it. And it's going to be. I think this is actually going to be a tough battle of a game, in the trenches.
Yeah. If you're watching on TikTok, head on over to Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel. You get to see the whole show. Otherwise, you just get Nick and I in our faces. But everybody else is over there. You can listen to them on TikTok. That's fine. Go ahead and share out if you want to. Again, hop over Bronco Nation Updates YouTube, subscribe there, and be part of the show. We try and read every comment on the air that's appropriate. So come on over and have some fun with us. Jack, you need another swig of that Fountain of Youth. You've turned back into Todd.
I know. Jack had to go. I had to get him off. He was talking like me. Jeez almighty. When shut up.
That's whenever you man, you're gonna Drew Brees me.
He's talking about hitch routes and drag routes. We're not that damn. We gotta get back to just the old basics here, buddy. Who we like better's uniform, right, Pops?
All right. Well, this game is on the 9th at 6:30 on ESPN, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. Oregon is a 4-point dog. That's actually shrunk to 3.5 points now, with opened at 48.5 over under, and that's down to 47.5 for the over under. Indiana's actually been predicted to win 70.4% of the time with the ESPN's matchup predictor. Todd, do you agree with ESPN?
Well, if you looked at my original bracket, remember I had Oregon in the national championship game,
Yep.
but I did have them beating Oklahoma to get there, not Indiana. I did rewatch the game today between Oregon and Texas Tech, the 20-minute condensed version of the game. And I will say this, as well as Oregon won the game score-wise at 23-0, Oregon made a lot of terrible mistakes in that football game. They gave up. I want to say they left at least 21 points on the field, and it could have been more. They missed the kick, which was 3. They didn't get the fourth down inside the 5-yard line, which should have been a 7 or at least another 3. They had a play before half where they had a big chunk play. They only had 4 chunk plays in the whole game, and then they ended up fumbling and moving back past the 50 and had to down it. I don't think Dante Moore saw the field very well. If you go back and watch that game, he had 4 plays that were over 20 yards, but everything else was literally at or behind the line of scrimmage. He had wide open guys down the field that he wasn't seeing. He ended up taking a sack on a play that he had no business taking a sack on. So I tell you what, I'm switching my pick up here. I don't want to do it, but I just don't see how Indiana is going to lose this game because they're not going to make the mistakes that Oregon made. That's the one thing I've realized about a Kirk Cignetti team is this team does not make mistakes. They do not put themselves in bad spots. And Oregon yes, they won the game 23-0, but quite frankly, they should have won that game 40-0, really. And they didn't. And I'm worried that the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator are worried about their teams, which they should be, their new teams. And I just think that there's no way that Oregon's going to win this game with everything going on. And Cignetti's, he's ready to go. So I'm going with Indiana here. And we lost our host. What are you doing there, Pops? Give us a host.
You're going with Indiana. What was your score?
Well, I think, like what Casey said, I don't think this is a game like Jack picked, a 35-31 kind of game. I'm looking more here. I'm going to probably say this is 24 Indiana, 17 Oregon, something in that ballpark. And it might not even get that. I don't think it'll be as low scoring as Ohio State, Indiana, but I don't think it'll be much above. The winner won't get much above 20. What'd you say, Casey? You said 21?
17, something like that.
Yeah. I think
so. Yeah, so if you look at like the Indiana-Oregon game from earlier in the year, like Dante Moore had 2 picks, and like you're right though, he's still young. He still needs a quarterback coach to like get him to see the field better. Some players never do. But like when you look at like if they can stop Surratt, who had 121 yards against Oregon in the first game, it's going to be a much closer game. But like I think both these teams are going to come prepared to play. But like Todd's right. Lanning is great at motivation, but they have looked so messy in most of their games that were close. Like when the pressure's on them, they just don't look composed. And Cignetti, I mean, the man is cocky, he's arrogant, but Todd's right too. Like his teams just don't beat themselves.
Yeah, and the one thing I didn't like, I didn't like Oregon. Like there was a particular down in distance at 3rd and 4, and and this is where Dante Moore threw that interception. Like the whole play was inside the hashes, right? So you had 5 receivers basically, tucked inside, and they basically ran 3 receivers right into the middle of the field, 10 yards apart. You had 5 defenders sitting on those routes, and he threw the interception. I just don't understand why Oregon's not opening it up more. like moving those receivers out further, and they're keeping everything. And I know this is kind of the new college football. Ohio State's doing it, and it's driving me crazy. But when you got receivers that can take over a game, why do you want to put them in a position where they're basically overrunning a route, 5 yards behind another guy? Go back and look at that play in particular. You'll see on the right side of that play, you had a guy come in and run a little slant at like 5 yards, and you had another guy come in and run it right behind him at 10. And it's like, what is the point of that? Like, wouldn't you want to run someone away from that so you can get a single coverage opportunity? But a lot of that college football is being done that way. Now, Texas Tech, on the other hand, they did run a lot of 3 receiver sets to one side, which spread out, and they couldn't do much either with that. So I just think that I really do think this week there's only so many hours in a day, as we all know it. And these other 2 coaches, man, like, what's the offensive coordinator going to Kentucky?
Will Stein.
Yeah. And then the defensive coordinator is going to Cal. Is that right?
Might be.
I think so. Well, this is the peak week of the transfer portal, and they've had to spend at 75% of their time on those programs, and there's no way they couldn't have. So that means they're only giving 25% of their time, or maybe 30% of their time to, and if they're not giving 75% of their time to their teams in the portal right now, then they are not going to have the season that they were hired to have at their new school. So I really think this is going to come down in both these games, in Ole Miss and in Oregon's detriment. And Miami and IU are not dealing with that. So I think that's going to be the difference here.
And
Again, on TikTok, we're live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Head on over to the Bronco Nation Updates YouTube channel if you want to be part of this show. Otherwise, you just get Nick and I. Nick, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what Todd was saying. That just puts even more weight on my thought that they should hold back on the transfer portal until like a week after the championship game. So then you don't have these coaches that are splitting time between 2 different teams. But I also agree with you, Todd, that Oregon left a whole lot of points on the board, and their defense actually bailed them out. Against Texas Tech, they really put them in a great position to continue to have field position to where they had a chance to score. And like you were saying, if they do that against Indiana, they don't have a real good shot at success with a Cignetti coach team. He'll exploit that all day long.
Think about it. Oregon got the ball 2 times in Texas Tech territory and walked away with 3 points. You got to get those points.
Yeah, and Texas Tech's front seven's probably going to be comparable to Indiana's too.
I think I was texting you, Sam, that during that game, like you can't leave that many points, on the board against the Texas Tech defense. And so really, again, I think that Oregon's defense really bailed out, a lot of those decisions and missed opportunities.
And if Texas Tech had a quarterback like a Julian Sayin or a Trinidad Chambliss, I think they win that game, to be honest with you. I think their weak spot was quarterback play the entire game. And if they had a quarterback that didn't see deer in the headlights on a stage of that magnitude, Oregon's sitting at home right now.
You wonder if they would have had a healthy Hammond, their backup quarterback Hammond. Remember, he's the one that came in against Utah and tore that game apart. That was a 13-10 game when Morton got hurt, and he came in and stretched that. He's the one, although he did lose the game to Arizona State, he did tie that game or took the lead in that game late. So I almost wonder if they would have had him healthy. I know he's injured, was out for the year. Like if that would have been a halftime quarterback change, a la Nick Saban in the national championship game, kind of thing. Because he just was not looking good in that game, in the first half especially.
Yeah. And this Oregon defense probably much improved than the first game. I mean, you got Tuioti and Bocher absolutely killing it at linebacker. Are they going to be able to get to Mendoza and get him to get them rabbit feet? Casey, what do you think?
I think that's the only way you win. Statistically, Mendoza against like the close games wasn't a Heisman winner. Against the teams they were supposed to beat, he did really well. Aside from a nice few throws against Penn State and Oregon to like win those games, he's good, but he's not a great quarterback. He's a system quarterback.
Yeah.
So if you can get pressure on him, absolutely, that's like the only way you have a chance to win this game. Cignetti is way too much of a strategist to, once he gets up on you, he's gonna, sit on your short routes and make sure like you don't get beat over the top, and then he's just gonna just like an anaconda. He's just gonna keep squeezing on you.
Yeah. This one here, it almost feels like Oregon should have the upper hand here. They've got the offense is comparable to Indiana, but Oregon's defense is better than Indiana, stat-wise, on paper. And Pop, we all know that on paper means nothing whenever you get into the game, because on paper, Boise State shouldn't have beat OU. What are your thoughts? Should Oregon get more credit and be viewed? This seems like the second year in a row that Oregon's just kind of flying under the radar. Not a whole lot of people talking about them. Not a whole lot of flash. They've got speed and tight ends for the edge game and everything. Should Oregon not be slept on? Should they be viewed as more of a favorite than what they're given chances to be viewed?
Oregon are ducks. You should shoot a duck and eat it, smoke it, feed it to your dog. I don't care. I think that this is going to be a bend and don't break game between either team. The defenses are going to win the championship. Each one, you talk about Oregon's tight ends and the dink and dunks, and they'll give up yardage. I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois wins. Indiana wins, but is beat in the stats, because I think they'll give up yards, not give up touchdowns, give up field goals. Same way with Oregon. They'll give up yards. Whichever team can get in and get the touchdowns instead of the field goals is going to win. I think that's going to be Indiana. So I just assume the Ducks got shot and Indiana wins it about 21-17.
This is new ground for both teams too. Both of them lost last year before they made it to the semis. So, Nick, is that they're going to have some stage fright playing that big of a game? And do you think they'll settle down and get into a rhythm and go from there?
No, I think this is going to probably be about a game that you would probably think it's going to be. These are two really good teams, 14-0 against 13-1. The only loss in this is the Ducks lost to Indiana. They're two very well coached teams that will both be prepared. It's just going to be, in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't think the stage will be too big for them. I think it'll be, a really good Big Ten matchup. I think it's going to go about the same as it did earlier on this year. Indiana won that game 30-20. Mendoza had 215 yards. Moore had 178. I think there may be a little bit more a better performance by Mendoza in this game. How Indiana won that first game is they won the turnover battle. They won it because there was a fumble. I kind of see this game going the same route, but I don't think it's going to be. I think the defenses have matured since then, and I think it's going to be lower scoring again in this game. Again, two great teams, 14-0 versus 13-1. I do give the edge to Signetti. Again, he's going to outsmart him. He's going to outsmart Lanning. He's been doing it since since he left the clutches of Saban and went on his own, and there's no refuting it. There's a reason why he said Google me is because he's the real deal. And when you're the real deal and you know your shit, like he does, he doesn't need to go outside Indiana. He doesn't need to go to the NFL. He can be right there in Indiana and take care of business. And I think that he's going to be they're going to be a power for a long time. I think in this game, like I said, I think the two defenses have matured. I think Mendoza probably will have at least 250 yards in this game, and I see Indiana winning 24-13.
Pop, what was your score?
21-17.
Todd, did you give a score yet?
I had that sitting there about the same thing as Pop's, 21-17, 24-17. We'll go 21-17.
All right. And,
I'll make it. Let's get it. I'll go 21-16. I'll go with 3 field goals there instead of a touchdown there to get to 16. Remember, in the first game, Oregon only scored 13 points. Fernando had to pick 6. So, Oregon could only muster 13 points offensively. But it'll be, and that game was in Oregon. So you gotta give, Indiana a little credit there. I just think, honestly, I just go back to rewatching that game from the other day. And, when I was watching it, I thought one thing. Then when I rewatched it, I started thinking a little differently. I just think that, again, Oregon just made so many errors in that game. And, and now is Dan Lanning going to fix them? Yeah, but he's only going to have 6 days to do it. This is not the big extended layoff that we saw going into the last game. We're only talking, and much like, and both teams are kind of at a disadvantage here because they both played far. Indiana had to go from California back to, Indiana, and Oregon had to go obviously about as far as you can get in the continental United States from each other, almost as far in that travel. So, but I tell you what, I think at the end of the day here, if the winner of this game, I don't want to forecast that they're going to win the national championship, but I'm going to say that more than likely I'd put my money on it, no matter who they were playing. We could look back at this game and say this is the national championship game, kind of, like, hey, when we look back at this, the winner of this game was, this could be the quote unquote national championship game. So we'll see if that comes out that way, but, surely could be that.
That's what I think.
So Jack, who's, is he still sitting there across from you, Todd?
No, he must have went upstairs.
He said, no way Big Ten kickers can kick like SEC kickers. Big Ten kickers can't make them big moments.
Well, I will say that we did see a lot of bad kicking here between, Ohio State and even Indiana. They missed a kick against Ohio State. Oregon missed a kick in that game, and Sappington's a great kicker. So I don't know what the hell he was doing there. So it does seem like there is something with in Miami for that matter. How many kicks did they miss in that game against Texas A&M? I think they missed at least 2.
It was windy though.
Well, I will say it was windy, yeah. But yeah, so he does have a point there. The SEC kickers have, but we'll give it up to Illinois kicker. He knocked that one in to beat Tennessee. So there you go. So he nailed that thing.
With all this talk about kicking, is this bringing back some trauma, Casey, from Sunday?
I mean, I was shocked they fired Harbaugh.
Who fired Harbaugh?
Ravens.
Went today?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, good. He's coming to Cleveland.
My buddy texted me that, and I was like, "Wow, you're just trading one dramatic quarterback for another."
Well,
he's already got seven offers. Harbaugh does.
He does really?
That
Yeah. And there's only 6 openings.
Well, you know what's
Baltimore
funny
should have
is
fired the GM.
every coach that's got fired is now up for another coaching job. Like the Atlanta coach was interviewing with somebody, and Stefanski was interviewing with someone else, and yeah, it's just the real question is going to be, and this will be the real question. And I know Signetti said he loves Bloomington, right? But he's also got the ego the size of my sign, right? So he, like, if he wins the national championship in his second year at Indiana, could you say to yourself, I'm 63 years old. If I can pull this shit off again in the NFL and win a Super Bowl in 2 years, I mean, we might be looking at potentially the greatest coach to ever walk the field. You know, because I mean, you could say
if Dominic is here, doesn't Signetti have a national championship with James Madison before they moved up?
I don't know that he was there for that one.
Yeah.
We can look at.
I don't know either. Because if he was, and he has that national championship at FCS, then he has the national championship at FBS, and then wins a Super Bowl, he'd go down as the greatest coach of all time.
I mean, it would be real hard to argue it. And it's not. And here's the thing about what he's doing at Indiana here. I mean, listen, there is no program in college football that has been as terrible as Indiana has been. And that's not they were literally until this year the biggest losingest program in college football. Signetti's the reason they're on number second to last losingest college football program in history, right? Like, he's done something that literally, I can tell you this: Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, like whoever you want to put up as great college football coaches, none of those guys could have went to Indiana and did this, even with these rules. Like, I'm sorry, they wouldn't have done it. There's no way on hell earth that anybody other than this guy could have went to Indiana and did what he did. And that includes, many of the coaches that, coached here at Ohio State and at Notre Dame. Like this is an unbelievable feat of accomplishment here. And if he wins the national title with it, I mean, honestly, could any of us say after watching that game last year against Notre Dame, yeah, it was great. We didn't think he'd be where he is now. Like, not very many people had Indiana in the playoffs this year going into the season. No one thought he could duplicate that success to that success. And then here he is, undefeated, could be the first team in FBS to go 16-0. We had a team go 16-0 in D2 this year in Ferris State, which just happens to be the same school as Trinidad Chambliss came from last year and won the national title. So it's so amazing. I hate to admit it. It's actually annoying. It kind of drives me crazy that he's doing this, but and I'm sure in Indiana, the state of Indiana, they're used to Notre Dame controlling that state, and here we got freaking the Hoosiers, right. So it's an amazing accomplishment, and I think he's got the ego that if he can do it, He's got the number 1 pick with the Los Angeles Raiders. Jeez almighty, I'm going way back. The Oakland, how about we just call them the Raiders? And he could pick his guy in Fernando Mendoza and start. And he's already got a potential. He didn't have the greatest of year this year, but it's a rookie year in running back in Gentry, which I think would fit his system extremely well. At the Raiders, I think he's got the basis of a potential. He's a great talent evaluator. That's really what he is. He's incredibly good at that.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Harbaugh over in Oakland or Las Vegas.
Well, they may be back in Oakland by the time
Right.
he gets there.
Casey, let's get your final thoughts on this one and your score.
Oh man, everybody picked Indiana, right?
Do what?
Everybody picked Indiana.
Yep.
Well, I think Indiana's
I
going to win
Georgia.
it, but just to break the board, I'll go 2017 Oregon, even though I think Indiana's going to win. I will say this though, and I think the only thing I disagree with, like Todd, is Cignetti is a great college coach. He will never be a great NFL coach because he cannot translate to the NFL players who function more in a selfish role. Cignetti is great in where he's at because he's the big dog in the room. He, you either buy into my system or you're gone. I mean, you have to be an incredible evaluator and an incredible coach to basically reload your team year after year, and they're doing it in the portal right now. Like his team next year already has new receiver, new quarterback. Like you can't go to the NFL because those players don't really want to be taught up like college players do, and it's sad to see because my personal opinion is the development in football is basically a backseat to the athletic abilities. But yeah, I think Indiana's going to win, but I'm just going to go 2017 Oregon to break the cycle.
Well, I mean, in some ways, Casey, there's only been one team this year to defeat a team they've already played, and that was Texas Tech over BYU. So, you're definitely, the percentages are on your side there.
I think Cignetti's too much of a. I mean, the man's a cocky, arrogant SOB, and I'm going to throw up my mouth saying this. Urban Meyer's probably the only other coach that took Utah and made them competitive when they weren't a traditional power until he left for the Florida job. But Cignetti, I think at least has more class than Urban did. I don't think they're going to find him doing half the shady stuff he did while he was at Florida.
Yeah. So what was your final score?
He didn't do none of that shady stuff at Ohio State, so I'm glad you said Florida.
Well, I'm sure he got better at hiding it by then. But 2017, Sam.
20-17. All right. And I'm going to go just kind of similar to their first appearance, except maybe a little bit closer. I'm going 23-30, Indiana. So, but guys, thanks for joining me again. It's been great. It's been fun. We got one more show I've already decided. So if you guys want to be a part of it, national championship preview, we'll see who's going to do what. Probably won't be another 2-hour show because if we can get 2 hours out of two teams, then Todd talks too long.
Hey, Pop popped off too long. I had to go in the bathroom and watch it, so I didn't have the sound on.
Now I'm going to need therapy.
So, but if you're basketball fans, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. If you're basketball fans, next week I'm going to blow your mind real quick. We're going to switch studios. Next week we've got a bourbon beer and basketball. Or tomorrow. I mean, we got bourbon beer and basketball kicking off tomorrow at 8:00 Central Time. We're going to talk some beer. We're going to talk some bourbon. Nick's going to talk some non-alcoholic options. We've got Dominic Crusetto's going to be on. Casey's going to be on. Pop is not going to bounce off. He's going to bounce off the show. He's not coming on. And then we've got one other. I can't remember his name. Good Lord. I've been talking to him all day about it. We got another guy that's going to be coming on talking. He's got some knowledge about the ACC. We got Johnny Yates. I went to high school with him. He's coming on. He's the assistant coach down at Plano West. I think
Josh
his
Lee?
team. Say that again.
Josh Lee.
Yes, there it is. Josh. Yeah. Josh is going to be coming on. And then we got Jonathan Yates, gold certified Team USA basketball coach. He's assistant coach down at Plano West here in Texas. He's going to be on the show. He's got SEC knowledge. So if you're watching and you want to be part of the show, shoot me a DM. We'll get you on, especially if you got some expertise in some of these other conferences that we don't have anybody in already. But we do welcome everybody. So with that, fellas, I enjoyed everything. Enjoyed the evening. Look forward to a national championship preview show sometime in the coming 10 days. And you guys, thanks for joining me. Y'all stay safe.
All right. Looks like we kept it under 2 hours.
Yep.